November 24th, 1943. B Company of the 2nd 48th Battalion is ordered to outflank a strong Japanese position set up on a cliff near Sattelberg. The only way forward is up a steep, grassy slope right under the enemy's guns. For 2 hours, the Australians try to climb the hill, but every attempt is beaten back by heavy machine gun fire and grenades. As night began to fall, the situation appeared hopeless, and the order to withdraw was given. But Sergeant Tom Diver Derrick refused to give up. He informed his company commander, "Just give me 20 more minutes, and we'll take this place." With his platoon behind him, Derrick moves forward and attacks the Japanese position that's blocking the advance. He destroys it with grenades, then orders his second section to move around the right side. They soon come under heavy fire from 6 more enemy posts. Derrick, refusing to stop, climbs up the cliff under fire, holding on with one hand and throwing grenades with the other. Fully in view of the enemy, he keeps going, tossing grenades and then finishing the job with his rifle. In just 20 minutes, Derrick reaches the top, clearing 10 enemy posts and forcing the remaining Japanese soldiers to flee. This is the story of one of Australia's best soldiers of all time, and one of the most feared Australian soldiers in World War II. Thomas Curry Derrick was born on March 20th, 1914, in Medindie, Adelaide, the eldest child of David Derrick, an Irish emigrant, and Ada Whitcomb. Growing up in Port Adelaide, the family faced significant financial challenges. David had served in the 1st Australian Imperial Force during World War I and worked for the South Australian Harbour Board. The weight of supporting a family fell on young Thomas, who had 1 brother and 5 sisters, shaping his strong work ethic and sense of responsibility from an early age. Thomas attended Sturt Street Public School and Lefevre Peninsula School, but left formal education at age 14 to help support his family. He took on various jobs, including labouring, working in a bakery, and fruit picking. His hard work culminated in a 9-year stint at a vineyard in Winkie, where he eventually became the farm manager. These experiences ingrained in him the values of perseverance and leadership, qualities that would serve him well in the military. During this period, Derrick's personal life also blossomed. In 1939, he met Clarence Violet, Beryl, Leslie at a dance in Adelaide, and they married on June 24th of that year. Their relationship was marked by the strains of wartime separation, with Beryl often visiting the post office, anxiously awaiting news from the front lines. Their bond was a source of strength for Derrick, and his dedication to her and his family motivated him throughout his military career. With the world on the brink of war, Derrick felt a strong call to serve his country. He enlisted in the 2nd AIF on July 5th, 1940, at the age of 26, following basic training in the Adelaide Hills. He joined the 2nd 48th Australian Infantry Battalion, sailing to the Middle East on the RMS Stratheden. The 2nd 48th Battalion would soon become one of the most decorated units in the AIF. When the 2nd 48th Battalion arrived in Palestine, they set up camp at El Kantara and started training for desert warfare. To unwind, they organised athletic events, and Derrick became famous for frequently winning cross-country races and for keeping track of the results in a book he created. In March 1941, the battalion travelled by train and truck to Alexandria, Egypt, and then along the North African coast to Cyrenaica in Libya, where they joined the 9th Australian Division. As Derrick embarked on his journey with the 2nd 48th Battalion, little did he know that his courage would soon be tested in one of the war's most pivotal battles. The siege of Tobruk, a critical moment in the Mediterranean theatre, unfolded as Axis forces, led by General Erwin Rommel, sought to capture this stronghold to facilitate their advance toward Egypt and the Suez Canal. On April 9th, 1941, Derrick and his fellow diggers entered Tobruk and were stuck there for 8 months, surrounded by enemy forces. Derrick, then a private in Platoon 8, Company A, would often pick up his recently acquired breeder machine gun and lead patrols against German and Italian troops. Even though he showed a lot of courage, Derrick often wrote about being scared of dying. The attackers, however, soon began to fear an Australian patrol. On Easter Monday, April 14, 1941, the 2nd 48th Battalion held off an Axis attack. After taking heavy losses in what Derrick called a Bobby Dazzler of a firefight, patrols led by his unit captured nearly 800 enemy soldiers, showcasing their tactical skill and Derrick's leadership potential. He was praised for his bravery and promoted to corporal. Rommel, frustrated at not being able to break through the Australian defences, referred to the Rats of Tobruk as skilled, resourceful, and courageous fighters. As the war progressed, the stakes became even higher. The First Battle of El Alamein was crucial in halting Rommel's advance into Egypt. On July 10, 1942, Derrick, now a corporal, led an assault against Italian positions at Tel El Asa. Under heavy grenade fire, he destroyed 3 machine gun posts and captured over 100 enemy soldiers. His tactical acumen shone when he lured the enemy into a counterattack and destroyed 2 German tanks with sticky bombs, actions that earned him a Distinguished Conduct Medal for refusal to admit defeat in the face of a seemingly impossible situation. Derrick's leadership continued to flourish during the Second Battle of El Alamein, where he was promoted to sergeant. His battalion was tasked with advancing to cut off German forces. This battle was a crucial moment in the North African campaign, marking a significant shift in momentum in favor of the Allies. At this time, General Bernard Montgomery had replaced General Auchinleck as the commander of the British 8th Army. Montgomery brought a more aggressive strategy to the fight, aiming to force the Axis forces into a defensive retreat. The plan involved intense bombardments, followed by infantry advances to overwhelm the Germans and Italians. Derrick led from the front, engaging directly in combat and knocking out machine gun posts. His personal involvement in the fight was critical, as his battalion was charged with advancing the final 4 kilometers to cut off the German forces near the coast, a decisive objective. Derrick's leadership was not limited to combat. He was also seen moving along his unit's positions, motivating his men and ensuring their readiness to push forward, even in the face of heavy enemy fire. His ability to inspire and lead by example under such difficult conditions greatly bolstered the morale and effectiveness of his troops. Derrick's actions were instrumental in securing key positions. During the battle, he personally knocked out another 3 German machine gun posts that were impeding the battalion's progress. This was a decisive moment, as it allowed the Allied forces to press their advantage and establish a foothold. His exceptional bravery and ability to lead under fire helped his battalion maintain momentum in an incredibly intense and closely fought battle. The Second Battle of El Alamein was a turning point in the war in North Africa. The success of Montgomery's offensive strategy, combined with the courageous efforts of men like Derrick, forced the Axis forces, led by General Rommel, to retreat. This victory was a major boost for the Allies and set the stage for the eventual expulsion of Axis forces from the continent. Derrick's ability to motivate his men and secure key positions was instrumental in the battle's success, and his actions during El Alamein cemented his reputation as a fearless and effective leader. With the success in North Africa, the tide was turning, but new challenges awaited. Following their victories, Derrick's battalion was redeployed to the Pacific Theater as the focus shifted to countering Japanese advances. The New Guinea campaign marked a significant shift in the war, emphasizing jungle warfare. On September 4, 1943, Derrick's battalion participated in an amphibious landing at Red Beach, northwest of Lae. He played a crucial role in the assault on Malahang Airport, capturing it unopposed, and was pivotal in securing Lae. His efforts in logistical operations ensured that supplies reached the front lines, demonstrating his capability as a leader beyond combat scenarios. Derrick's commitment to his platoon and his unwavering spirit in challenging conditions were hallmarks of his military service. As part of the Pacific War, the Sattelberg offensive was a critical operation aimed at dislodging entrenched Japanese forces from a key defensive position atop a heavily fortified mountain. The capture of Sattelberg was essential for controlling the Finschhafen area and securing vital supply routes, which would significantly bolster the Allied push against Japanese forces in the Southwest Pacific. Derrick, serving as acting company sergeant major in the 2nd 48th Battalion of the Australian 9th Division, played a central role in this campaign. after his battalion participated in earlier operations, including the amphibious landings at Ley in September 1943 and the subsequent battles for control of Finschhafen, the focus turned to Sattelberg. By November, the Japanese defenders were deeply entrenched in the dense mountainous terrain of the Sattelberg Ridge. The 26th Brigade, including Derrick's battalion, was tasked with the monumental challenge of assaulting the fortified positions, which were fiercely defended by the Japanese. On November 22, 1943, Derrick found himself leading 11 Platoon, B Company, in what would become the final decisive assault. The initial advances by Australian forces were met with heavy resistance, with Japanese defenders using the difficult jungle terrain and well-fortified positions to great effect. Despite this, Derrick demonstrated exceptional leadership, bravery, and determination. In the face of intense enemy fire, he requested permission to make one last push. Over the course of the battle, he single-handedly destroyed 10 Japanese machine gun and pillbox positions using grenades, advancing under relentless enemy fire and in extremely difficult conditions. His actions were instrumental in breaking the Japanese defense line, allowing his platoon to secure the crest of the hill and, ultimately, enabling the battalion to capture Sattelberg. Derrick's courage, resilience and tactical acumen were critical in turning the tide of the battle, which paved the way for further Allied advances in the region. The hoisting of the Australian flag on the captured hill became a moment of triumph, signifying the hard-won victory and the strategic success of the Allied forces in New Guinea. Derrick's valorous efforts did not go unnoticed. He was awarded the Victoria Cross, the highest military honour for gallantry in the face of the enemy. This distinction solidified his legacy as one of Australia's most esteemed soldiers of World War II. Derrick returned to Australia in February 1944 and was posted to an officer training unit. He was commissioned as a lieutenant in November 1944, taking command of Platoon 7, A Company, 2nd 48th Battalion. As the war neared its conclusion, Derrick was called back to action in May 1945, landing in Tarakan, Indonesia. The Battle of Tarakan, part of the Borneo campaign, aimed to capture crucial oil fields from Japanese forces. On May 22, 1945, he led his platoon in an assault on a heavily fortified position codenamed Frida, capturing all but the highest knoll. That night, a Japanese machine gun opened fire on the Australian lines. Derrick, on sitting up to check on his men, was hit by a second burst of Japanese fire. Despite sustaining multiple injuries, including wounds to his stomach, thigh, and hip, he continued to lead his men with unwavering determination. His refusal to yield in the face of grave danger exemplified his commitment to his men and the mission at hand. However, the seriousness of his injuries had a huge impact. Laying back calmly, and, after a while, he turned to a mate and said, "I've had it. That's that. Right to barrel." Tragically, Derrick succumbed to his injuries on May 24, 1945. He was buried at Labuan War Cemetery, leaving behind a profound legacy of bravery and selflessness. His story did not end there. It became a beacon of inspiration for generations to come. Lieutenant Thomas Curry Derrick is remembered as one of Australia's most courageous soldiers. His tactical brilliance, exceptional leadership, and deep sense of camaraderie inspired those around him and elevated the morale of the Australian forces during some of the war's toughest battles. His actions had a lasting impact on military history and exemplified the spirit of the Australian soldier. That's why when General Peter Cosgrove, former chief of the Australian Defence Force, was asked who was Australia's best soldier, his answer was Diver Derrick, the best soldier of all time. Posthumously honoured, Derrick's legacy endures through various memorials, including a bridge named in his memory in 2008 and a portrait by Sir Ivor Haley held at the Australian War Memorial. His story continues to inspire future generations, a testament to the extraordinary courage of those who served in the defence of their country during World War II. The journey of Lieutenant Thomas Curry Derrick from a modest upbringing to becoming one of Australia's most decorated soldiers is a powerful narrative of bravery, sacrifice, and resilience. His unwavering commitment to his fellow soldiers and his country, even in the direst of circumstances, underscores the essence of true heroism. Loved by his fellow digger, feared by his enemies, respected by all. If you would like to see more stories like this one, then don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. As we reflect on one of Australia's most decorated and best soldiers of all time, we also remember the sacrifice made by all those that served and came before us. Thank you for watching.